I don't know if you can hear this, but it's raining outside this morning. It's really nice like this. Good morning. Hey guys, my adventure with SwitchBot Locks has started more than a year ago, I think, and what was a promise of a 15-minute installation turned out into a 4 hours adventure to try to get one of these to be compatible with my 40-year-old door. And while I succeeded and it wasn't really a SwitchBot problem, I was really happy with the SwitchBot lock since then. A year ago I finally delivered on the 15-minute installation, and when I moved into this apartment with modern locks and modern door, I was able to install SwitchBot Lock once again, this time in 15 minutes without any problems. Well, with one problem. For my particular use case, the lock required to be extended quite a bit, which made the included door ajar sensor to be too far away to be detected, and I could not use that feature. But that was about it, and I was quite happy otherwise, and I've been using SwitchBot Lock ever since, and I absolutely like it. It got to the point when I trusted so much that I didn't take my keys with me anymore. But this wasn't my first running with smart locks. Previously I had one from Agara which would replace pretty much everything, and once I tried to fit it, I quickly discovered I need a new door, and the door wasn't particularly odd either, so I quickly dropped on that idea, and to be fair, I really prefer the SwitchBot way of activating or enabling smart locks by adding the kind of symbiotic device to your door and making it happen, because it's less invasive, takes very little time, and probably you won't end up with the need of installing a new door, which is costly and insane to ask if you just want to have a smart lock. So now we have this. This is SwitchBot Lock Pro, and to be fair, even holding it in a hand, everything screams pro about it. It's more sturdier, it's made from metal, it's heavier, it's just more pro. So I figure out I'm gonna give it another go and see how pro it is actually in my setup. At the surface level, it is still the same idea. It's a symbiotic device that gets hugged around your lock and turns the key for you. So the installation doesn't require a screw, you can do it in a rental apartment without damaging anything, and you can enable majority of the locks to be smart locks, which is probably something that you want. And while on the subject of making your entry smart, check out the video in the corner about making a smart door, because I did that on the budget as well. Back to the lock, however. The main differences are obviously the visible knob, which is right now round and doubles as a button, so you can press in here and activate the lock, which is super handy for accessibility reasons. And it has a cover that covers the mechanism around the turning key, which could be probably useful for anyone with small kids, because you don't want kids to jam their tiny little fingers in between those moving parts, right? Another change in the Pro Lock is how it handles the actually attaching mechanism to the knob or to the key or whatever. This time it uses these hexagon pieces that kind of slot in, and they are like spring-loaded, which is quite nice. But it has a support for those wide butterfly adapters that came from the previous lock, so you'll be able to quickly replace the lock from the previous iteration into this iteration without much fuffle. Now, what got me concerned was the mounting mechanism. Previously it was just a 3M tape, and that was pretty straightforward, and there was a razor plate that enabled the lock to go into more difficult locks, I guess. But this time around we have a flat plane or flat bracket, and I wasn't really sure how that's going to work with my locks, especially that a lot of locks in the UK on my area have those long elongated plates that connect the lock and the handle plate, and having that flat surface just touching it like that didn't seem like a good idea. Another thing that I like about the Pro version is the battery compartment, which is very smart. It's hidden under the magnetic latch, which is fun to open and close, and it hides a magazine holding 4 AA batteries. Now, depending where you are in the world, you can already get the magazine replacements that are rechargeable. SwitchBot will provide them. Right now, I think they are geo-locked to certain regions, but that should probably change with time. But it's a fun little way to change the batteries, and it's just nice, and I like this way of operating devices. And while on the subject of batteries, they're promising up to 9 months of usage with the magazine with normal AA batteries and 12 months if you use the rechargeable LiPos. Now, I'm not able to verify the claim because this is a new product, but in terms of the claim of the SwitchBot Lock, the original one on the batteries, it was pretty much spot on. I ran out of batteries within like 8 months or something, with using the lock probably 4 to 6 times a day. I need one more thing. What I've actually received in a bundle was a SwitchBot Lock Pro, a keypad touch with a fingerprint sensor, and the hub, which now supports Matter. You can tell because there is a sticker on it. This isn't the only SwitchBot hub and the keypad are purely optional, but I would strongly recommend you to get the bundle because you're gonna save some money. And here's the bit about pricing. This will set you back £139, but if you want to get everything right now on the launch sale, you get £50 off and you can get this set for $189, which is actually a pretty good deal. But if you're not sure, you can still opt out for buying things separately as you go and as you need them. So you can buy the lock and you will be able to operate the lock remotely using your phone, using Bluetooth connectivity, because that's how it works. And later buy a keypad touch or keypad itself if you want to save some money, and if you want to enable remote opening, etc., etc., then you'll need obviously a hub to enable that. So all those three items can be bought as a bundle or separate. If you have exactly the same bundle, the SwitchBot Lock Pro, the keypad touch, and the smart hub, one of the smart hubs, then there are 15 ways of unlocking this. Well, it's a little bit less than 15 because they decided to separate temporary pin and permanent pin and whatnot as different methods, but they are the same ways of physically interacting with the device. But in my day-to-day use, I was using either NFC tag, which also enables me to go to my local hack space, which is nice because you only carry one key, my fingerprint, or thumb fingerprint, and the pen, just in case my finger's gonna get cut off at work or something. So those were the primary ways I was using a smart lock. Oh, I also had one instance in which I was using a hub to open the door remotely because I had a contractor coming in and I felt like on top of the world when he called me and saying like the agency forgot to give him a master key, and I was just like, hey, don't worry, I got you. I then was cheeky enough to drop an announcement via Alexa to him and greet him to my household. So I felt pretty cool about that. But depending on what gadgets from SwitchBot ecosystem you got, you'll be able to do the voice command, so you can open it via voice assistant. You can key in your pin or touch with your fingertip. You can have cards supplied with a lock and keypad. And you will be able to assign temporary or one-time use codes only to allow access to other people. SwitchBot app offers also security management for your devices and people, so you'll be able to enable and disable certain people in different times to manage your home security. Before I'm going to tell you all about this lock and compare it to the old and tell you what is pro about the SwitchBot Lock Pro and the old version, let's actually put it on the door and let's go through installation. My first step was obviously to get rid of the old lock, and that was a testament to the strength of the tape supplied with the SwitchBot lock, because it took me actually a couple of moments to rip the lock off the door, and then I could quickly verify there was absolutely no marks on the door. So if you're renting, you're safe. It's going to be fine. Now, for my installation, first thing I had to do is pick the compatible attachment for the doorknob. And I quickly picked the one that had exactly the same size and allowed me to drive a group screw through the barrel, through that bolt, and lock it in place. Then I had to pick the plate, and I went with the mounting plate A. And it wasn't up until this point when I actually noticed how the plate is being installed. Now, on the plate itself, on this particular plate, there are 3 group screws that actually clamp the plate onto the barrel of the lock and make it, well, really well attached without any tape, and the process only took a couple of seconds. I was actually quite impressed at this point because I was only a couple of seconds into the video and all I had to do is just slide in the lock and that's it. And the whole installation would probably take me less than 2 minutes if it wasn't for the bloody screws on the side of the lock. Now, because they are so close to the bracket and to the door, I dropped the screws and the Allen key several times before I actually driven all the screws into place and secured the SwitchBot lock in place. That by far was the most complicated part of installation. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, it would take me probably less than a minute to get everything installed. I mentioned previously that when I was using SwitchBot Lock, I could not use the door detection, the door ajar detection magnet because it was simply too far away from my lock. The frame wasn't thick enough and it just didn't work. So suspiciously, I looked at the included magnet and I was like, should I even bother at this point? I mean, the lock is slightly closer, but it's still a massive gap between the lock and the magnet itself. That's never gonna work, right? But for the sake of experimenting, I attached the magnet to optimal position on my frame, and since the door opened on to the inside, I didn't really have much hope to detect whether my door is open or not. And I was wrong, because it worked, and I'm super excited about it because it enables extra functionality I didn't have before, and it works so much better, as if it was more pro, I guess. So with everything installed within moments, I was ready to pair the lock and calibrate it and explore all the functions of the lock and get excited. So the process of pairing is pretty easy. Just follow the steps on the app, and the only complicated thing is just deciding whether you have a night latch that kind of locks the door from outside and prevents you from opening it without a key or not. And after that, you will be able to start operating this lock. The first thing I've noticed was that the SwitchBot Lock Pro doesn't struggle. Previous one struggled a little bit. I could hear the motor just inside having a bit of a strain when it turns the key around back and forth. But on the Pro Edition, it's just smooth as butter. And it's also much faster. Okay, it's not much faster, it's maybe a second faster, but that extra second makes all the difference in how you perceive the lock in terms of how quick it is. The entry to my flat now feels more fluid with much faster response time and more powerful motor. So that's definitely so much better, I like it. Another cool thing that I didn't even think I would like was the push button, which you can configure to single, double push, and configure to either just to toggle the lock or unlock or lock the door, up to you. And that's such a nice thing because previously I would either leave the lock to the auto lock, which works fine, but because I couldn't detect whether my door is closed or not, and my self-closing mechanism is not doing a great job and it leaves the door kind of in a pinch point. That wasn't working all the time, and the most of the time I was just simply using my hands to lock the door from the inside. Now with this one, since I've got already the door detection, I can set the auto lock to a very short period of time and it will auto lock itself. I can just press the button, which is great because I don't have to turn the knob and strain myself. It's great for accessibility reasons. Honestly, it's nice to have and it feels good to have this option there. It's sturdier, it's faster, and it's able to operate with a much more difficult lock. So what are the differences inside the app? Honestly, apart from the user interface change too much, the design of the knob, there is not much that changes in the app itself. How you're going to interact and what options are available to you will depend strongly on the bundle that you've got with the lock. But other than the configuration of this button included in the SwitchBot Lock Pro, all of the options are kind of the same. The only difference I've noticed is the option for the night latch, and you'll be able to configure whether you want to use that or not. You still have access to management of people and issuing temporary password, opening that remotely, and all that good stuff, or integrating it with Alexa, Google Home via Skill. Now, the new thing is obviously if you have a Matter-compatible lock, you'll be able to add this device via Matter. So yeah, as soon as I finish this video, this goes back on my door. I'm going to recalibrate it again because that's what you have to do each time you remove the lock, and start using it for my keyless entry. So what makes the SwitchBot Lock Pro the Pro? I have to say that the biggest improvements to the quality of my life, it's that actually better support for the magnet. So you'll be able to get that door detection, door open, close detection from different circumstances, which is nice. And the fact that it's much faster and stronger. But the most professional aspect of this lock is actually how easily it was to mount it on my door. Like I said, I'm renting here. I don't want to drive any screws. I don't want to use too much tape in case it will untape itself or something. I just want to have a smart lock that will enable me to have a better access to my house and manage the security for myself. And their way of installing this on my particular lock was just pro. And for that, honestly, that's a worthy upgrade to me. And if you're renting and if you want to smart up your life, then going with SwitchBot Lock Pro, it's not going to disappoint you. Now, full disclosure and statement in here, before you buy one of these, go to the SwitchBot website and see the compatibility and different options of mounting this, so you would know that your door lock situation is compatible with this lock. Obviously, yes, you can make SwitchBot work with 40-year-old doors and locks if you have a chisel and 4 hours and a big hammer, but don't leave yourself disappointment if you're gonna pick up one of these without checking compatibility, so do that first. Right, I'm going to wrap up this video, grab the lock and put it back on the door and enjoy my keyless entry once again, because using a key is so 1990s right now. And if you want to know more about SwitchBot ecosystem, I've covered most of the products, so check out my YouTube channel and the website for anything that they've got in the lineup, and you'll find a video of me talking about it. I have their nice S10 Hoover coming soon, so that's going to be something to look forward to. As for now, you know I do not have a posting schedule, so if you're interested in what's going to happen next, then hey, use your YouTube tools provided to keep in touch. There's a social media listed down below. Get in touch with me, send me a comment, say hi, and I'll definitely gonna see you in the next video. Take care. Bye. That does not get old, honestly, it doesn't.